Hello and welcome to Mary's Stitching Corner. My name is Mary and this is my channel about cross stitch. If you're new, welcome. I hope you enjoy what you see and continue to stick around. And if you're returning, welcome back. I appreciate you. So it's been about 6 weeks since my last video. I always want to do it faster than that, but life seems to just come along and kick us in the rear end, and it is what it is. So I appreciate your patience in still being here and waiting for me to post another video. So I gained a few new subscribers last time, so I thought it might be good to do a reintroduction. And I actually haven't done one since I started my Flosstube, which was 3 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. So anyway, my name is Mary. I live in northern Utah, but I'm originally from Scotland. So that's why you will hear a weird mixed up accent because I've been over here for coming up on 34 years. So I've actually lived here longer than I lived in Scotland, but I still consider myself to be Scottish first and foremost. So I live with my husband, Steve. He's from Utah, and I live with my 2 daughters, Katrina and Sarah. Katrina is from China and Sarah is from India, so we've got the international family thing going. Excuse me. Sorry. I also have a dog who is a 6-year-old Shih Tzu Maltese mix, and you won't see her very often, but you probably will hear her because she tends to snore very loudly. I have a stepson Nick, and he lives down in southern Utah, so it's about 4 hours away, and we see him maybe 4 or 5 times a year. I've been crafting my whole life. Started with knitting when I was in primary school in Scotland, so I don't know how old I was, 7, 8 years old. The first project I did in school was knitting a pair of slippers, and I did knitting for many years. It was a really popular thing over there, and you know, a necessary thing. People would knit their own sweaters, blankets, you know, which is what I did. I would knit a lot of my own sweaters and dog clothes and blankets, and yeah, just I love knitting, and I did it for a long time. So on my first visit over to the States, which was in the early 80s, I was introduced to cross stitch and loved it. So when I went back to Scotland, it was hard to get cross stitch things at that time. So I did a little bit of embroidery, but it wasn't until I moved over here when I got married in 1991 that I jumped full force into cross stitching because I had supplies available. So I did a lot of lavender and lace. I can't even remember. Precious Moments were huge at that time. Yeah, I just stitched constantly, and I really didn't take a break in stitching even when I had my kids. I have a picture of one of my daughters standing with the container that you hold your bobbins of floss in that she had dumped out all over the floor. She was about 2 at the time. So yeah, I just kept on stitching, and it wasn't until I discovered Flosstube about 4 years ago that suddenly it wasn't one project at a time, it was multiple projects. So, but I've also done many other crafts. I've done painting, and I used to make porcelain dolls, reborn dolls, wooden signs, wreaths, lots and lots of different crafts. And now I do paper crafting still and cross stitching. And I sometimes get a hankering to start knitting again, but I never quite get around to it. So maybe one day I'll do that again. But so that's pretty much it. I have a few chronic illnesses which keep me at home a lot, and so I do have a lot of time to spend stitching, and I'm grateful for it because it's very therapeutic. So anyway, so that's pretty much all there is to know about me. If you have any questions about anything, just leave them in the comments below. So I've made some notes. Hopefully I'll remember to look at them so I can remember to tell you everything. So I have some finishes, some new starts. We can talk about whip go, the whips that I've worked on, planned new starts, a little bit of haul, and then at the end we can talk about the books I've been reading and just a tiny bit about life. So I'll start with my finishes. I have 6 finishes. And because, you know, there's been 6 weeks, so I was able to get quite a bit done. So this is from a Dimensions Gold kit called Christmas Jar Ornaments. And there are 4 ornaments to stitch. This is the 3rd one. I'm probably not going to do the 4th one. And I didn't bring down the kit to show you, so sorry. But anyway, this is the 3rd and final one I'm going to do. And I think it turned out really cute. I think they're all really cute. I just don't like stitching on this plastic canvas. So, you know, maybe in a year or 2 I'll decide to do the other one, but for right now I'm done. So that's finish number 1. Finish number 2 is called Winter Notes by Shepherd's Bush. And I've been stitching a lot of these. I'm pretty much probably going to stitch all of them. I love how small they are. I just really enjoy them. So this one is stitched on 32 count Lugana Basalt Splash. Excuse me. And because I chose a much darker color than the called for fabric, I pretty much changed all the color in the project, but I think it turned out pretty good. So the next one of these that I will be starting is the St. Patrick's Day one. And this is Christmas Terrarium by Tiny Modernist. This is 18 count Night Sky, I think, by Fiber on a Whim. And I used all the called for DMC. And this is the second one of these that I've done. Oh no, maybe the 3rd one. I did Halloween Terrarium. Maybe this is just the 2nd one. I have Valentine Terrarium that I want to do, but I haven't started that yet. This one is a start and a finish. And this is Valentine's Day Quaker by Primrose Cottage. Stitched on 18 count white Aida using the called for floss, which I can't remember the name of. If you want to know, just drop me a message and I will let you know. So I want to make this one into a pillow. I was hoping to have made it into a pillow before I made this video, but it didn't happen, obviously. So this one is part of a series by Little Dove Designs, and this was the first one I did. This is Heart of Summer, and it's stitched on 18 count Valor by Picture This Plus using the called for DMC. And my dog is snoring loudly in the background. So I'm going to start Heart of Spring next. But I enjoyed this quite a bit. I messed up big time in the beginning of this because I started in the middle, but I wanted to work my way down here. So I just did a little bit here and worked my way down, and I ended up being way off and had to unpick most of what I had done. So I will stitch it quite differently next time. So I think it's quite cute. And then I have two big finishes that I'm thrilled with. So this one I started in the summer of 2023. So it took me a year and a half. And this is Summer Quaker by Lila Studio. And it's stitched on 18 count Aqua by Fabric Flare, and use the call for DMC, and I love it. And I'm glad. My goal was to get it done before I got to the 2nd year anniversary of this, and I'm glad I got it done. And I finished Spring Quaker last year, so I do want to do autumn, and I think there's a winter one coming out at some point, but I'm not going to jump right into it. I'm going to probably start the autumn one maybe in September. So I'm thrilled that this is done. And my final finish is my oldest whip that I started in 2020. So I am beyond thrilled that this is done, although I thoroughly enjoyed it. So this is by Dimensions Gold, and it is Twilight Bridge. And I love it. I love these kits, even though they're challenging and time consuming. The colors that they choose and the layers, and yeah, I just love it. So I am very happy with this. So those are my finishes. Next, we can look at my new starts. The Valentine Quaker was a start and a finish. And the next one I'm doing is by Little Dove Designs. And it is Red Robin Breast. I hope I don't have fingerprints all over the iPad. I hope you could see it okay. So I'm stitching this on 18 count aqua with snowflakes, I think is what it's called, from Fabric Flare, and using the code for, it's mostly DMC. One of the greens is, actually it's a DMC, but it's a variegated, but the rest is just regular DMC. And I love it. I love it on this fabric, and I pretty much copied Helen D. She did this and did it on a very similar fabric, so I think it's very cute. The next new start I have is from the book Cross Stitch in the Forest by Max Pigeon. Oh, wait a minute. Max Pigeon is a designer. Pigeon Coop Designs is the company. And I have marked tons of these that I'm going to be doing. But I started with Blizzard Valley. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this one. And I'm more than halfway done. So this is 18 count white Ada, using the code for DMC. So I love it. I love the colors. I love the use of negative space for the snowflakes and the mountaintops. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of these projects in a minute. So my friend on Instagram, Sharon at Might As Well Stitch, is doing one of these, and it looks absolutely fantastic. She's doing this one. So if you want to have a look at that, go check out her Instagram page. Might As Well Stitch. Okay, I don't know where to put everything. My next new start was a freebie from Owl Forest Embroidery. And it's called Let It Snow. And I had originally planned to stitch it just like it is here, with white on blue, but I just didn't like my stitches, so I completely changed it and restarted it. And this is just a scrap of blue Ada I had. I think it's 18 count. And I think I'm using 926, DMC 926. $9.30 actually. And I'm liking how it's turning out. I'm stitching this along with some ladies in the Stitching by the Shore Facebook group. and everybody's doing it in their own way. It looks really good. And then my last new start is Pine Crossing by Robin Pickens. This is the first I've ever stitched from her. And I've heard her name come up quite a bit with the Nashville market that's coming up. She's got a few new releases coming up that are really nice. So I started this one with my friend Patty. She is freakin froggin on Instagram. She's gotten a lot farther than me. But we both had issues with having to unpick a bunch of this. So this is all I've done, using the code for DMC. And this is like an 18 count oatmeal fabric, I think. I just had it lying around. I wanted something kind of nature-like or rustic, so that's my small start on there. So those are my starts. And we can look at my whip goes. So for January, my whip go calls were for Christmas Terrarium, which you saw as one of my finishes. So I did 15 hours on that, which brought it along quite a ways. And the other one for January was Happy Harvest, which is one I hadn't been enjoying, but now I'm really enjoying it. So this is Happy Harvest by Sue Hillis Designs. And last time I saw you, I think I was just up here, or last time I showed this, and I did not enjoy stitching that at all. But now that I'm down here, it's been really fun. So I did 15 hours on this for whip go. And thoroughly enjoyed it. And made quite a bit of progress. So my whip go goals are to do 15 hours on each project that is pulled for whip go each month. And so this is where I am. So I did the sunflowers and the pie and this cornfields with the truck, and then I've come down here. This is being stitched on, I think it's 28 count platinum. And I'm really enjoying it. It was hard to put down. So once I got past this part, it's actually stitching up relatively quickly. This was full coverage, so this took quite a bit of time. But overall, it's moved pretty quickly, and it takes you back to the old days when everything was backstitched. So, but it's been really fun to do. So those were January whip goes. And for February, let's see, Heart of Summer. So I did 15 hours on that, and if I hadn't done that, it wouldn't have been finished. So that's why whip go is really good for me, because it makes me stop and focus on something for a while. And the 15 hours makes me feel like, yeah, I'm making really good progress. So, and the next one that was called was Floral Composition, which I just finished my goal today. And this is by Jardin Privé. And it's 3 charts that I'm combining into one. So that's number 1, number 2, and number 3. And when it's combined, it looks like this. So I made pretty good progress. This was my birthday start for last year. So in May, it will have been a year since I started it. It's not going to be done, but that's okay. Okay, so since I saw you last, I've done this right through here. And this is being stitched on 18 count antique white Ada using the code for DMC. So I've miscounted right here, so I'm going to have to unpick to about right here. So this part here is off, and since everything is in blocks, it needs to be lined up correctly. So thankfully it's not a huge area that I have to frog, but it's pretty typical for me anyway. So yeah, I really love this. I've pretty much stitched on all of my whips since I saw you last, because I pull them out for challenges, but I'm only showing the ones where I feel like I've made decent progress. This one, okay, so that's my whip goes. I think it's the 25th is when they'll call the numbers for next month, so then I'll find out what I'll be working on then. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the progress I made. So this one, these are my regular whips that I have touched since I saw you. And this one was my New Year, New Start. And I started this with Laura at Stitching by the Shore. And there's a few people that are working on it. Lynn at Those Missing Stitches. My friend Sharon on Instagram, Might As Well Stitch. She just finished the first page. Andrew, the Running Stitcher. He's doing it all in beads. So you need to go check him out to see that. It's going to look fantastic. Those are the ones I remember off the top of my head that are stitching on this. I feel like there's, oh, is it Stephanie at Cross Stitch the Globe? She's working on it too. So it's a popular one. So you're going to see it around. So this is Black Roses by Owl Forest Embroidery. And I'm just doing it monochromatic on black. No, on white, using black floss. And I haven't made a ton of progress because I ended up having an issue and having to find my error, which thanks to Sharon. Thank you, Sharon. She helped me find it, and thankfully I didn't have too much to unpick. But this is what I have done so far. So this is 18 count. I think it's antique white Ada. And I'm using DMC 310. So it's going to take a long time. But now that I kind of put it aside for a few weeks because I couldn't figure out where I had messed up. Now that I have fixed that, hopefully I will feel like pulling it out more. Oops. This is Halloween in Quilt, and I'm not going to pronounce the company because I can't. I think they're Italian. So let me see. Hopefully you can read that. And I've pulled this out a few times for some challenges. I belong to a few Facebook group challenge groups, Stitching by the Shore, which is run by Laura. Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch. So Laura does an I Spy every month. Magazine Monthly Cross Stitch challenge group, I think. They do an acrostic every month, and sometimes they do an extra. They do things like Bringo and ABCingo. So they have a few challenges as well as the acrostic throughout the year. Crafts and Books, they do an acrostic every month. And Wit Warriors, which is, for right now, it's a closed group. It will open up again at the end of November for new members. They're very much a challenge-driven group where you do have to participate. So between those four, I pull out a lot of these whips to fulfill certain prompts and challenges. And this is one that I've pulled out a couple of times. And this is where I am. I've started on the house. This is 18 count Dune by Be Stitch Me, and I'm using the code for DMC. I like the colors that she's chosen for this. I mean, you have your blacks and your oranges and your greens, but there's also, you know, the blues and the grays, and I just like the combination of colors that she's chosen. Next one I worked on, and you'll see that I am not a seasonal stitcher. I just pull things out any time of the year. I do focus on certain, like I focus on Christmas in December, I focus on Halloween in October, but I'll stitch them throughout the year. So this is Autumn, Sampler Seasons Autumn by Blueberry Ridge Designs. And Laura at Stitching by the Shore is stitching this one too. And this is where I am. I'm using the code for Weeks Dye Works Rust. And I'm using one strand over one. This is 18 count Cafe au Lait by Fiber on a Whim, I think. Yes. And I have the winter one, that when I finish this one, I'll start on winter. And Janet Jabber is working on winter right now, but she's putting her own spin on things. It looks really good. Another Halloween one is Jardin Privé Lady Halloween. So this is being stitched on 18 count Lavender by Fabric Flare. And I should clarify that when I say fabric flare, it's fabric flare fabric, but I get it from dovestitch.com on Etsy. And this is where I am. So I'm using mostly the called for floss, but I'm adding a few splashes of color, like her orange hair, the purple bubbles, and I had to change this lighter color. I had to use a lighter gray than the called for because it wasn't showing up. Actually, now I'm not sure that was the reason, but I had to change the color because it wasn't showing up on my fabric. So I'm quite happy with how it's turning out. I think since I saw you last, I've done most of this. So there's 4 pages in the chart. So right here is about page 1. And then I'm working on this page, and then there'll be the 2 others. Next one is, I just have a black and white picture of it. Pretty Little India by Satsuma Street. And as I mentioned, my daughter is from India, so this is, I'm not sure if it's for her or just to commemorate her, because I don't know if I can give it up at this point. Of course, right now it's not even done, so it's not an issue. So this is being stitched on 18 count Celestine by Fiber on a Whim, using all the called for DMC, and as you can see, there are many, many colors in this chart. And I love how colorful it is. So yeah, there's a lot. It's not a very big project, and we're using all these colors, but aren't they gorgeous? So this one I hope to get done this year because I have a few more of this type of chart that I want to do. I have one for China. I think, Laura, did we talk about doing Dublin? So I think Dublin is in the plans, and so yeah, once this is done, I'll start another one. I love these city type ones. I did one for my hometown, which is Glasgow in Scotland, but it was by Awesome Pattern Studios, but it was the same type of design, and I really enjoyed doing that, but they're time consuming. All right, so my last whip is the Gold Collection Christmas Village ornaments, and I am working on the 3rd one. So I've done this one, and I'm working on this one. And then I'm going to take a break for a while. I want to do them all, but I'm just getting kind of burned out on it. So I've made pretty good progress on this because I was able to use it for a few challenges, and I don't have a whole lot left, but it's deceiving because these take a long time and there's a lot of back stitching. So I'm just using all of the kit materials. But yeah, I love how it looks. But I'll be happy to have a break from them for a little while. Maybe I'll start them up again around Christmas time. And I seem to do that when I'm stitching like a series of something. I get burned out after a little while and want to take a break. So those are my whips. Let me see. So I've got some new starts planned. And the first one that I will be working on, I think we're going to start next week. I'll be working on this with Karen, the Stitching Owl. And if I can find it, we are going to be doing the Fox and Butterflies. And this is from the Cross Stitch in the Forest Pigeon Coop Designs book. I probably have 15 of these. There's 25 charts in here. I probably have at least 15 of these checked off as ones that I want to start. So Karen and I are going to start this, and I know there's somebody else that's going to stitch along with us, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the name. Karen has stitched a few of these. Well, I think she finished Blizzard Valley, which is the one I'm working on now, and she finished the Woodpecker, and which is really cute. If I see it quickly here, I'll show it to you. And she's also working on the Aurora one, which looks amazing. So I know she's got plans to stitch quite a lot of these, and we're going to be stitching. Here's the Aurora that she's working on. I know we're going to be stitching quite a lot of these together throughout the year. And Helen D has done a few. Here's the Woodpecker that Karen just finished. So if you watch her latest video, you'll see this one, which is on my list to start also. So that one I'll be starting pretty soon. I'm just waiting for my fabric to arrive from 123 Stitch, and it should be here hopefully by Monday. So I also want to start Heart of Spring by Little Dove Designs to replace the Heart of Summer. And you know, when I chose my fabric, I was choosing it to look similar to what the designer had chosen. But now I'm wishing I had switched. So this, I kind of wish I'd used this green for spring, and then this is what I'm going to use. But I wish I had used this one for summer. But it is what it is, and it will look good anyway, I'm sure. So I'll be stitching it on, I think this is 18 Count Magical Clouds by Fabric. I'm sorry, I'm tripping over my words today. By Fabric Flare. And I will be starting this before I see you next time. Another one I want to start, thanks to Sharon. I've actually seen quite a few people stitch this one, and I love it. So let me find a picture. This is called Cabin in the Woods. And can I remember who the designer is? It's not on here. Let me look it up. Sorry about that. I think that Stitchy Sally is stitching it too. It's one that I've seen a few people stitch, but Sharon might as well stitch. On Instagram, she's the one that she kept posting her progress, and I kept falling in love with it more and more. It's by Needle Case. No, don't think they're the original designer. Flossability Store. So on Etsy, so you'll find it there. And I bought the fabric for it. I have the floss. I'm not exactly sure when I'm going to start it, but it's in my plans. The next one I'm going to start, and I'll probably start this one very soon. And this was Helen D's fault. She's been stitching on. She and I have a lot of similar tastes. So recently I've started quite a few things that she has shown. So this is called Arctic Animals by Stitchrovia. And I love this because the colors, they're just fantastic colors for a winter piece. And I know that we're coming out of winter, but again, I'm not a seasonal stitcher. I really like this, so I'm going to start it probably within the next week or so. And I'm waiting for fabric to arrive for that too. So I'm just going to do it on white. Because there's some negative space here for the snow. So I want to have white in the background. And then the last one that I'm going to start is this one. I like to have a dimensions gold on the go. And since I finished my Twilight Bridge, then this is the one I want to start next. But I was going to start it in January, but I got pretty discouraged because the Twilight Bridge, let me back up a bit. If you buy a dimensions kit, you can message customer service at Simplicity. They're the distributor of these kits. So you can message them and request the PDF. And you have to show proof that you have the kit. And they will send you the PDF. So with Twilight Bridge, the PDF came and it was fantastic. It went into Pattern Keeper and it was great. This one, they sent the PDF and it won't work. It came through where you had page 1 and it was sideways. Then you had the list of, what do you call that page that tells you which flosses to use? I had that, which was right way up, and then it had the second page of the chart, and that was sideways. So I thought, okay, all I need to do is separate them, use a PDF editor, separate them, put them in order, and maybe it will be recognized. But no, nothing that I have done has worked. I've tried Pattern Keeper and I've tried Markup RXP. Just doesn't work. So I messaged Simplicity and they basically said, we can't help you, just Google for the answer. So if anybody has any tips or if you have come across this problem and been able to fix it, then please let me know. But I was so scunnered, as we would say back home, that I put it aside and just thought, I'm not going to start it. But I keep telling myself, look, for years you worked off paper charts. It just, with a chart like this, that's pretty much full coverage, it's so much easier when it's in Pattern Keeper or Markup. And so that's been the reason that I have put off starting it, but I am planning on starting it soon. So there's my saga. Anyway, any advice, please? Because I can't think of anything else to try. And yeah, I don't know why there would be an issue like there is, but there is. And this time, sometimes I do mess up when I'm trying to put things in to Pattern Keeper, but this time I don't believe it's user error. I believe it's the way the file came. And I apologize for the snoring. So those are my planned new starts. I have a tiny bit of haul. Mostly the charts that I showed you were part of my haul, the ones that I'm going to be starting. And I've ordered like floss and fabric, but other than that, there's not a lot of haul, but I did. So I use Q-snaps when I'm stitching. And I was putting an order in at 123 Stitch a month or two ago, and I just didn't have enough. You know, it was just for floss, and you think, oh, I don't want to pay this shipping just for floss. I didn't want to buy any more charts because I've already got enough. So I decided, I saw advertised on their front page, I decided to order a grind guard, which I had never used before. And I liked it a lot. So I had a gift certificate for Etsy and ordered some on Etsy. And I hope I can remember who the designer is or the maker is. But anyway, I got some 8x8s and then an 8x11 because I modify my Q-snaps to accommodate that size for my bigger projects. And darn it, she doesn't have a label on here. So let me try and find. You can tell I'm super organized. I don't want to tell you about something and then not be able to tell you where I got it from. Okay, so her name is, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. Did this flip a bit? Anyway, Suze Bees, so SUSEBIEES on Etsy, and very reasonable price and really good quality. So that's my haul. So that's pretty much my stitching stuff, I think. So if that's all you were here for, thank you for joining me. Please come again next time, and take care, and hope you find lots of time to stitch. So for anyone else that's interested in books and life, then thanks for hanging on. So far this month, or this year, I have read 13 books, and most of them are part of a series. So I'll read one from a series and then do another author and then go back to do the next one in the series. So I'm rereading the Trad Street series by Karen White, which I tend to read every year. I thoroughly enjoy them. It's about a woman who lives, is it South Carolina? So a Southern woman who has the ability to see and communicate with spirits. And they're not scary. I mean, they're spooky at times, but they're not scary books. And they're quite funny because she has a lot of hang-ups because of things that happened in her life, and she tries to control everything. So it's funny, but it's also spooky enough, but I really enjoy them. So far, I want to say there's 6 or 7 in the series, and so far this year I've read 1, 2, 3. I've read up to number 4. So the house on Tratt Street is the first one in the series. Then I read a book that I don't know where I saw it recommended, but I thought I would give it a try, and I absolutely loved this book, and I will definitely read something from this author again. So it's called The Booklovers Library by Madeline Martin, and it's set during World War II in Nottingham, England. And I found it to be it sounds kind of weird. I found it to be a very uplifting book, even though it was set during that time and there were a lot of terrible things going on to the main character and those around her. But the book itself was it was lovely. That's the only way I can describe it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just a lovely book. And so it's based on, if you're British, you'll know, but for anybody else, and I don't even know if these are still around, but there's a famous drugstore, as they would say here, or chemist, as we would say back home, called Boots, Boots, and they were everywhere in the UK. Again, whether they're still in business, I don't know, because I don't live there anymore, but they used to run a library in their store, which I did not know about, but that's kind of where the book is focused, is on this library and the people that work there and the people that come in to borrow books. And as I said, it's set in World War II, just right before the war really got going. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. So if you like books, if you like history, and if you like just a really good read, then I would recommend it. So The Booklovers Library by Madeline Martin. I'll try and remember to list these books below so that you can find them easier. So I read the 3rd book in the Thursday Murder Club series by Richard Osman. It's called The Bullet That Missed Twice. Is this the 3rd one, or is it the 2nd one? Anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It might just be the 2nd one. I love the 1st one. If I read the 2nd one, I love the 2nd one because, sorry, hot flash. I have to turn my fan on. Okay, this is the 3rd one. I remember now. So I liked the 1st one a lot. I really, really liked the 2nd one because I was familiar with the characters. You learned more about their backstories. And the 3rd one was brilliant as well. I love the characters. I love the trouble they get into, and it was just, for me, it seems like they get better. Each book gets better, and so it's basically a group of friends that are old age pensioners. They live in a retirement home in England, and they decide to become like detectives to solve murders. and they get caught up in a lot of different adventures. They'll have you laughing, they'll have you crying. Yeah, they're just great books. So, and it's going to be a movie coming out at the end of the year on Netflix. So I'm looking forward. I hope they don't spoil it because the books are so good, but I'm looking forward to that. So I would highly recommend those books. And then I'm just telling you the ones that kind of stand out more. I've started reading an author, Charly Cox, and it's a series of books that follows this particular detective who, when she was younger, her brother was kidnapped while she was looking after him, and it's kind of colored her whole life going forward. And it takes place in New Mexico, and she becomes a detective. And the first book is called All His Pretty Girls. Let me double check that. Yeah, All His Pretty Girls. And there's a serial killer, and she's trying to solve this case. There's these women going missing, and she's trying to determine, is it a serial killer? Is this just a coincidence? And then her son goes missing, and it becomes very personal and kind of brings her past into the future, into the present. And I find they're really good stories. They're disturbing at times. But if you like murder mysteries, I think you'll enjoy them. So the first one is All His Pretty Girls. Second one is The Toy Box. The third one that I just started is called Alone in the Woods. And there's one or two more in the series. So yeah, if you like that kind of genre, then I would recommend those. And then one that I just finished, that is an old book, but I just came across it. I don't know how. Sometimes things just pop up on Audible or whatever. And so some of you may have read this because it's stitching related. It's called Crewel World. So Crewel as in Crewell. And it's about a woman who goes through a divorce, and she goes to Minneapolis to live with her sister, who runs a needle workshop. And without going into a lot of detail, there's a crime committed, and the sister ends up, the woman that moves with her sister ends up solving the mystery or solving the crime. And it's hard to tell you about it without giving too much away. It's really enjoyable. It's nothing gory or, yeah, it's a murder mystery, but it's not heavy. It doesn't make you feel yucky afterwards. So, but it's really fun that it's set in a needle workshop, because they talk about knitting, they talk about embroidery, they talk about cross stitch and all the words that we're familiar with, silks and DMC and all this stuff. So it's really good, and it's part of, I think, quite an extensive series. So I've placed the next one on hold at the library, which is Lace something. Can't remember the name of it. So it's Cruel World by Monica Ferris, and it's new to me, so I hadn't heard about it. So just something you may be interested in. So those are touching on a bunch of the books that I've read or listened to. I listen to them on Audible. So I sit and stitch and listen while I'm stitching. So yeah, that's it for the books and life. It's been challenging the last few months, health-wise for me and my daughter Katrina. So yeah, we've just been trying to take one day at a time. And yeah, so I don't want to go into too much detail about it at the moment, but other than that, we're just plodding along. We finally started to get some snow. We've been getting snow in the mountains, but not in the valleys, which for me is good. But last week we got 6 inches one day, and then yesterday it snowed all day long, but we didn't get a ton of accumulation here in the valley. Even though it snowed all day long, it was weird. But we're supposed to get up to like 57 degrees by Monday, so that will be very nice. It's been very gloomy all winter, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the sun again. So hopefully in the next few days that will happen. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going on. Yeah, that's about it. So just a very short life update. So I hope everything's good with you. I thank you for coming and spending some time with me. Send me a comment. You can reach me on Instagram at Mary Stitching Corner. You can email me at marystitchingcorner@gmail.com, or leave a comment. Tell me what you're stitching on. Tell me what your plans are. I love to hear from you. So till next time, bye for now.